There's a story they don't want you to hear. A story buried beneath layers of time and silence, meant to remain in the shadows. And yet here you are, listening. 14 nuns. A prayer room. A locked door. That's all they left behind. No records. No letters. Just an empty room filled with a strange, oppressive silence. A silence that still echoes today in the very walls they sealed themselves in. On the surface, it seems like the kind of devotion that would be celebrated. A symbol of faith, a religious act of profound sacrifice. But that's the cover. What if I told you the truth is darker than anything they've let you believe? That what happened behind that door wasn't about devotion at all? What if it was an act of defiance? A refusal to be controlled. In 1680, in a small convent in France, 14 nuns, the very heart of their order, locked themselves in a prayer room and swore never to come out. They didn't just lock the door, they sealed it. Their actions would never be spoken of again, and the world outside would never understand why they did it. The church. They called it insanity. They said these women were touched by the devil. But what if it was something else? What if these women knew something the rest of us were never meant to understand? It wasn't a spiritual escape they were after. No, what they were doing was far more dangerous than that. The real question is, what did they uncover? What did they see, or more importantly, what were they trying to escape? The walls of that room, the locked door, it wasn't just a physical barrier. It was a symbol, a statement, a final stand against an oppressive force that had been working its way into every corner of their lives, slowly, insidiously, for centuries. The church, the state, powers that have controlled the truth, manipulated the masses, hidden what they didn't want you to see. And those 14 nuns? They saw it. They understood it. And they chose to fight back in the only way they could. What if this was never about religion? What if the truth they uncovered was a much darker secret? The answer lies in the room they locked themselves in, but only if you're willing to dive deeper into the darkness. Are you ready to see what they knew? Because this knowledge, it's going to change you. Forever. Let's take a step back. What were these women truly up against? Was it just the church? Or was there something deeper, a web of influence that stretched far beyond their cloistered lives? In the 17th century, the Catholic Church was not just a place of worship. It was an institution of power, control, and unyielding dominance. But even then, something darker was emerging. An underground force, a secret network, whose sole purpose was to preserve control over human consciousness. This wasn't just about faith anymore. This was about power. Psychological manipulation on a scale few could comprehend. The nuns saw it, they saw the system at work. They understood that their devotion wasn't just a spiritual practice. It was a form of control. The rituals, the prayers, the silence they were forced into, it wasn't just about God. It was about subduing the mind, the soul, breaking them down to a point where they were pliable, submissive. You see, true power lies in the ability to control thought. And to control thought, you must first control the language, the symbols, the rituals. Every prayer, every chant, was carefully constructed to guide their minds, to shift their focus, to twist their perception of reality. It was all about creating an illusion of free will, while, in reality, they were all slaves to the system. And when these 14 nuns realized the truth, when they saw the veiled manipulation happening all around them, they couldn't just sit back and accept it. They couldn't be silenced any longer. They couldn't accept the idea that their existence, their very souls, were being controlled by forces beyond their comprehension. So they did the unthinkable. They sealed themselves inside that room, not just to pray but to resist, to break free from the chains that bound their minds. But let's be clear. This wasn't just about rejecting the church's authority. No, it was much larger than that. These women were trying to break free from an entire system designed to control them, to lock their consciousness in place, to prevent them from ever knowing the truth. A truth that could unravel everything. And that's where the danger lies. The moment you start questioning these systems, the moment you start pulling at the strings, you'll realize just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Because these hidden forces, these shadowy networks, they still exist today. They are still here, pulling the strings. And you, just like those 14 nuns, are still at risk of being trapped in the web they've woven for centuries. So, what will you do? Will you open your eyes to the hidden forces at work, or will you turn away, as most do, content to live inside the illusion? It's a choice. But once you make it, there's no going back. You can never unsee what's been shown to you. And remember, the moment you see through the veil, they'll be watching. Always. It's tempting, isn't it? To think that knowledge is a simple thing. You either know it, or you don't. But what if I told you that some knowledge is too dangerous to possess? That certain truths are so corrosive, so destructive, that entire generations have been wiped out simply for trying to unlock them. Let me take you back to those 14 nuns, locked away in that room. They weren't just rejecting authority, they were rejecting something far more dangerous. The truth they were willing to die for was knowledge that could shatter the very foundation of everything they'd ever believed in. A secret so powerful, so threatening, that the institution they served would go to any length to bury it. This knowledge wasn't just about spirituality or the divine. It was about the manipulation of reality itself. It was about understanding how human minds can be bent, twisted, and reshaped without ever realizing it. You see, the powers that be, the ones pulling the strings from behind the scenes, they've always known this. They've always understood that once you control the mind, you control everything. In those final days, the 14 nuns came to realize that everything they had been taught was a lie. The rituals weren't just pathways to enlightenment, they were chains, designed to keep them obedient, passive, compliant. Their prayers weren't about transcending the material world, they were about reinforcing the very system that enslaved them. And as they dug deeper into this forbidden knowledge, they saw the pattern repeating everywhere. The powerful, the wealthy, the elites, they were all using the same tools, the same methods to control the masses. Think about it for a moment. What if everything you've been taught, everything you believe, is a part of this system? What if the education you received, the media you consume, even the social structures you exist within are all designed to keep you in the dark? The nuns had to decide. Do we stay locked inside this room and risk losing our very souls to the knowledge we've uncovered? Or do we go back into the world, knowing what we know, and fight for a chance to break free? But here's the kicker. They didn't have time to fight. They didn't have the luxury of turning back. Once that door was locked, they sealed their fate. Because the moment you accept this forbidden knowledge, your life is never the same. You're no longer just a pawn in the game. You're a threat to the system. And when you're a threat, you become a target. Do you think those women were the only ones to uncover this knowledge? Think again. It's been passed down, hidden in plain sight for centuries. And if you're still with me, it means you've unlocked something within yourself. You've seen through the illusion, and there's no going back now. But be warned, knowledge like this has consequences. Once you're awake, the world you thought you knew will never look the same again. Now, before we go deeper, take a moment. I want you to comment the phrase, "I see beyond the veil," twice in the comments. It's not just for the algorithm. It's a way for you to mark this moment, to claim your transformation, to lock yourself into this new reality where you can never unlearn what you've just uncovered. So, what will you do? Will you choose the path of ignorance, or will you dare to embrace the darkness of the truth? It's one of the oldest tricks in the book. Make people believe they have freedom. Make them believe they have choice, while the real power quietly pulls the strings from behind the curtain. But you're not a fool, are you? You've felt it? The illusion? You've known, somewhere deep inside, that what you see isn't all there is. That reality is manipulated, bent, twisted. You can see the cracks, even if you're not sure what's behind them. The 14 nuns knew this better than anyone. They weren't just rejecting the church's authority, they were rejecting the entire system of control that had been built over centuries. This system, designed to suppress the truth, to keep humanity locked in a cage of illusion, is far more sophisticated than you realize. It's not just a matter of religion, politics, or economics. It's a system of psychological control, a web of manipulation woven into every aspect of society. Think about it, every decision you make, every direction you take, is subtly influenced by forces you can't even see. From the moment you wake up to the moment you sleep, you're bombarded by messages that shape your beliefs, your desires, your actions. The advertisements you watch, the shows you consume, the people you interact with, they all push you in one direction, toward complacency, toward conformity. They create the illusion that you're free, that you have choices, when in reality, you're being steered. This was the secret that those 14 nuns uncovered. The world they lived in wasn't a world of freedom. It was a world of control, and every institution, the church, the state, the aristocracy, played their part. They understood that if they could keep the minds of the people in check, if they could keep them believing in the system, they'd never question what was really going on behind the scenes. But these nuns weren't fooled. They saw how their actions, their thoughts, their very lives were being shaped by invisible forces. And when they realized it, they did the unthinkable. They sealed themselves away, rejecting the world they knew, rejecting the lies that held them captive. This is the moment that every man, every person, has to face. Do you continue to live in the illusion, or do you step into the unknown, where the truth is far more dangerous than anything you've been told? I know the temptation is strong to stay comfortable, to remain blissfully unaware of what's truly happening around you. But you must understand, the moment you reject the system, truly reject it, it will come after you. And just like those nuns, you'll find yourself marked, hunted, as a threat to the very foundation of the world they've built. Do you understand now that you are part of a system that has been designed to keep you in the dark? And once you wake up, there's no going back. It's a dangerous place to be. And those who awaken are often never the same again. Before we dive deeper, I want you to pause and reflect on this. Are you ready to embrace the truth? The truth that might cost you everything? If you are, comment, "The truth is my weapon," twice. The first step to awakening is knowing you're armed. And trust me, you're going to need it. Because the deeper you go, the darker it gets. Do you ever wonder who's behind it all? The architects of the illusion. The ones who built this system, layer by layer, to keep you trapped in a world of lies. You see, it's not an accident. The structure you live in, the framework of your reality, is not the product of chance. It's the result of centuries of manipulation, carefully constructed by a small group of elites who understood one simple truth: whoever controls the narrative controls everything. These architects don't want you to see them. They've worked tirelessly to ensure their names are erased from history, their influence invisible, their methods obscured. But their work is everywhere. You see it in the myths they've created, in the stories they've written, the ones that dictate how you should live, what you should believe, how you should think. Take a moment and think about the stories you've been told, the ones that have shaped your worldview, your identity. What if those stories aren't just stories? What if they are the scaffolding of the very system that controls you? What if everything you believe, from your political views to your moral compass, was planted in your mind like a seed by the very people who control the world? The church wasn't just an institution of faith, it was an institution of control. And the nuns understood this. They realized that the rituals, the dogma, the stories they were taught to believe, they were all part of a larger myth designed to keep them in their place. The myth of salvation, the myth of obedience, the myth of divine authority. These weren't just spiritual concepts, they were psychological tools used to suppress and subjugate. But the nuns were different. They were able to see through the myth. And when they did, it was like a door opened in their minds. A door that led to a terrifying truth. They were no longer just followers of the faith. They were free thinkers, untethered from the chains that had bound them. And that freedom came at a cost. The architects of the system, the ones who have been pulling the strings from the shadows, know that the truth is their greatest threat. The moment you see through the myth, the moment you awaken to what they've been hiding, you become a threat to their power. That's why they've spent centuries creating false narratives, creating distractions, creating new myths to replace the old ones. But here's the thing: myths don't last forever. Eventually, they crumble. And the 14 nuns? They were the first to shatter one of those myths. They dared to step outside of the carefully constructed narrative that had been imposed on them, and in doing so, they exposed a deeper, more sinister truth. So ask yourself, what myths are you still holding on to? What lies have you been told that are keeping you from seeing the truth? And more importantly, who benefits from those lies? The more you understand about the architects of the system, the more you'll see just how deep the manipulation goes. It's not just about religion or politics. It's about something far darker. The manipulation of your very perception of reality. And once you realize that, you'll begin to understand just how much power they have over you. And you'll also begin to understand the true cost of awakening. Because the moment you do, you'll realize that you are no longer part of their world. You've become something they fear, something they'll stop at nothing to destroy. So are you still with me? Do you understand what I'm saying? If so, I want you to comment, "I am no longer asleep," twice. It's not just for the algorithm. It's a signal, a declaration, that you're awake now. And once you're awake, you'll see the world with a new set of eyes. And there's no going back. It's not a war of guns or bombs, not the kind of battle that you've been taught to fear. No, the real war is much quieter, more insidious, and it's happening right now. The battlefield isn't in some far-off land, It's inside your mind. The weapons aren't bullets or missiles, they're ideas, beliefs, and emotions, and the ones pulling the strings have spent centuries perfecting their craft. The 14 nuns, they understood this better than anyone. They realized that what they were fighting wasn't just a church or a system of belief, it was a psychological war, a war over their very consciousness. And when they locked themselves away in that prayer room, they weren't just rejecting the system of their time, they were rejecting the war that had been waged against them for centuries. It's easy to dismiss it, to tell yourself, that's just a conspiracy, or that's the past, it doesn't affect me. But let me tell you something, you are in that war right now. You're already on the battlefield. Every moment of your life, every decision, every thought you have is being influenced by forces you've never fully understood. Let me break it down. The media you consume, the social norms you follow, the political ideologies that define your actions, they aren't your own. They've been implanted. Subtly, quietly, over years, even decades. You are a product of the systems that control your perception of reality. And the more you fall into their trap, the more they win. But it's not all doom and gloom. The nuns found a way to fight back. By locking themselves away in that room, by rejecting everything they'd ever been taught, they were rejecting the very foundation of the psychological war being waged against them. They weren't just saving their souls, they were reclaiming their minds. And that is the ultimate act of defiance. You see, the real battlefield is inside your head. And when you understand that, you realize how much power you actually have. It's not just about fighting back against the system in some grand, physical way. It's about reclaiming your mind, your consciousness, your ability to think freely. That's the war they don't want you to fight. Because the moment you awaken to your own power, you become a force they can't control. But here's the dark truth. Once you start fighting this war, there's no turning back. You'll see the systems around you for what they really are, manipulative, oppressive, and designed to keep you weak. The more you resist, the more they'll come after you. And the deeper you go into this war, the more isolated you'll become. Because you'll be fighting a system that's so entrenched, so pervasive, that most people won't even see it. But this is what separates the awakened from the ignorant. The ones who understand what's happening and refuse to bow to it. The nuns knew this. And so do you. So, let me ask you, are you willing to fight? Are you ready to reclaim your mind and join the resistance? Because this is a war for your soul. And if you don't fight back, you'll remain a pawn forever. If you're ready to declare your stance, I want you to comment, I am the resistance, twice. This is your signal to yourself, to the world, and to the algorithm that you are awake. You've chosen your side. Now, there's no going back. There's a cost to everything, isn't there? The moment you choose to wake up, the moment you choose to see what others refuse to see, your life is never the same. There's no going back to the comfort of ignorance, no returning to the blissful numbness of a mind that doesn't question. Awakening to the truth is like a blade cutting through everything you thought you knew. It leaves scars, deep ones, ones that never fully heal. The 14 nuns understood this better than anyone. When they locked themselves in that room, they knew what they were giving up. They weren't just abandoning their faith, their way of life. They were abandoning their entire identity. They were walking away from everything that had defined them for years. They were choosing a path that would lead them to isolation, to fear, and possibly even to death. But it was worth it, because the price of awakening is nothing compared to the cost of staying asleep. These women knew that if they stayed in that system, if they continued to live under the crushing weight of lies, they would lose something far more valuable than their lives. They would lose themselves. Now, I'm not here to sugarcoat it. There's a price for waking up, and that price is steep. Once you see the system for what it really is, you can never unsee it. Once you know the truth, you can never go back to a life of comfortable ignorance. You will be marked. You will be different. You will find yourself at odds with the world around you, because the truth is a lonely place. Most people will never understand. But here's the thing. The ones who dare to wake up are the ones who change everything. The ones who see the system for what it is and choose to fight it, who choose to forge their own path, they are the ones who alter the course of history. The nuns knew this. They understood that their sacrifice, their choice to step into the unknown, could spark something far greater than anything they could see at the time. You might be asking yourself right now, is it worth it? Is it worth the cost? The fear, the isolation, the potential danger? The truth is, only you can answer that. Only you can decide if you're willing to pay the price of awakening. Because once you step into the light of truth, there's no turning back. There's no running from the knowledge that will follow you. And it will change you. It will redefine who you are, who you were, and who you will become. But understand this: if you don't make the choice now, if you don't decide to wake up and break free, you'll be nothing more than a puppet, living a life of controlled illusion. You'll be nothing but a tool for those who hold the power. And that, my friend, is a price no one should be willing to pay. So, I'll ask you again, are you ready to pay the price? Are you prepared to walk the path the nuns once walked? The path of isolation, of danger, of knowing a truth that will change you forever? If so, I want you to comment, I pay the price, twice. Because this is the moment where everything changes. This is where you decide if you are truly ready to step into your power. And remember, once you do, you'll never see the world the same way again. There's something you're not being told. Something they don't want you to understand. The systems of control, the elites who have shaped your reality for centuries. They are terrified of one thing: the truth getting out. But it's not just any truth. It's the truth that connects everything, the truth that binds the world together in a way you've never been taught to see. The nuns, they were among the first to see it. And that's why they were silenced. That's why their story has been buried beneath centuries of lies. Because the moment you start to piece together the forbidden knowledge, the moment you understand that this system has been operating for far longer than you've been alive, you'll begin to realize something deeply unsettling. This isn't an isolated incident. The story of the nuns, the story of their locked prayer room, is only one small thread in a vast, intricate web of secrets. And those secrets are all converging now, in your lifetime, in ways that are more dangerous than ever before. Do you feel it? The weight? The rising tension in the air? The reason you can't shake the sense that something's wrong. That's not paranoia. It's the invisible pull of the truth. It's the realization that everything you've been taught to believe, everything you've relied upon to structure your life, is crumbling around you. And when that truth finally reaches critical mass, when enough people begin to see it, to feel it, to acknowledge it, the system will collapse. But they won't let that happen, not without a fight. Because the elites, the power brokers, they know what happens when too many people wake up. They understand that once enough minds converge on the truth, the entire framework they've spent centuries building will come crashing down. They can't allow that. They can't risk it. And so, they'll do whatever it takes to keep you silent, to keep you distracted, to keep you from ever seeing the full picture. The 14 nuns were a threat because they saw beyond the veil. They understood the nature of the control they were under. And when they locked themselves away, they knew they were condemning themselves to a life of isolation. But in doing so, they became something more. They became a symbol of defiance, of resistance, of breaking free from the mental shackles that bind you. You think the world has forgotten about them. Think again. The church, the state, the secret societies, they all remember. And they never forget the ones who threaten to unravel the carefully constructed narrative. The moment you start pulling on that thread, the whole story begins to unravel. The truth is a fire, and once it starts, it spreads. Here's the thing: they know the power of knowledge. They know that when one man awakens to the truth, it doesn't just stop with him, it spreads. It causes others to question, others to seek. That's why they need to keep you silent. They need you to stay distracted, to stay ignorant, to keep living your life without ever questioning what's really going on behind the scenes. But you're different. You're awake. You've seen the cracks. And now you're at a crossroads. You can either stay silent, like the millions of others who live in the comfortable lie, or you can become a part of the growing resistance. The ones who are willing to speak the truth, no matter the cost. I want you to take a moment and reflect. Will you allow the system to keep you quiet, to keep you from ever speaking out, or will you stand up and become one of the few who dares to pull back the curtain, to expose what's hidden in plain sight? If you're ready to break the silence, I want you to comment, "The truth must be heard," twice. It's your declaration that you are no longer a passive observer in this game. You are ready to speak. You are ready to stand against the system, and once you do, you'll see the world in a way you never have before. Here it is, the moment you've been waiting for. The final revelation, the last key to the locked door. You've gone deep, deeper than most ever dare to go, and now you're standing at the threshold. But be warned, this is where the darkness truly begins to take shape. This is where the truth they've hidden from you for centuries becomes undeniable. Because the moment you understand this, the moment you see through the final illusion, there's no going back. You will never again be able to look at the world around you in the same way. It will feel as if the very foundation of reality has cracked open. And that's exactly what they fear. That's why they've kept you in the dark for so long. Because once you understand what they've been hiding, you will become a force of nature. A force they can't control. The nuns were among the first to glimpse this truth. The truth that everything, absolutely everything, is built on a foundation of manipulation. They weren't just rejecting the church. They were rejecting the entire system of control that's been woven into the very fabric of human existence. It's not just religion. It's not just politics. It's the entire structure of society. This isn't a war of armies or weapons. It's a war of perception. You've been trained to believe in the story they've told you. The story of progress, of freedom, of democracy. But behind every facade is a much darker reality. They've used fear, control, and deception to shape your entire existence. And what the 14 nuns understood, the truth they stumbled upon in that locked room, is that the system was never designed for your freedom. It was designed to subdue you. To make you believe that you are free, while, in reality, you are under constant psychological assault. This is what they don't want you to know. This is what they've worked so hard to keep from you. The system, the elites, the power structures, the institutions, they are all tied together by a single thread, and that thread is the mind. The mind is the battlefield, the final frontier. Everything you believe, every choice you make, every action you take, is influenced by this hidden network. It's why they flood you with endless distractions. Social media, entertainment, consumerism. All of it is designed to keep you passive, to keep you from ever understanding the power you hold. The power to break free, to disrupt the system, to awaken to the truth. But the moment you see it, the moment you recognize the architecture of control for what it is, you realize something terrifying. The power is already within you. It always has been. They've kept you in chains not by locking you in a cage, but by locking your mind. And once you break free of those mental shackles, once you understand the full extent of what they've done, you become a danger to everything they've worked to build. You will not be easy to silence. You will not be easy to control. And that is why they fear you. Because the truth, once unlocked, is like a fire. It cannot be extinguished. It spreads, it burns, it transforms. And when enough of us wake up, when enough of us refuse to play by their rules, their entire system will collapse. This is the power of knowledge. This is the power of awakening. Now, I want you to think long and hard about what you've learned, and what you're ready to do with it. Because once you unlock this door, there's no turning back. You're going to see the world as it truly is. And that truth will change everything. If you're ready to unlock the final door, to shatter the illusion once and for all, comment, "I unlocked the truth," twice. You've made it this far, and you are no longer the same person who began this journey. You've stepped into the unknown, and you can never unknow what you've learned. You are part of something far greater now. You are the few who have seen beyond the veil, and you will never be the same again. Congratulations. You've made it this far. You've descended into the depths of forbidden knowledge, peeled back the layers of deception that have defined the world for so long. The nuns, in their isolation, were a spark. But you are the flame. And what you do with this knowledge will determine not only your future, but the future of those who will come after you. This isn't just some abstract idea or philosophical exercise. This is real. It's happening right now, beneath the surface of everyday life. You can feel it, can't you? The tension in the air, the sense that something isn't right, that the world you've been living in isn't the world you thought it was. And you're not alone. There are others like you, waking up every day to the truth that has been hidden from them for generations. But the question is, what will you do with it? You now have a choice. The most powerful choice you've ever had. Will you remain a passive spectator, observing the world from the sidelines, or will you step forward and take control of your own destiny? The world is shifting. The system that has held us all in its grip for centuries is beginning to crack. But it won't collapse on its own. It needs those who are awake, those who understand the nature of the game, to help dismantle it. The 14 nuns didn't just wake up to the truth. They became symbols of resistance, of courage, and of a refusal to remain passive in the face of tyranny. They made a stand, and that stand cost them everything. But their actions, however isolated, sparked something larger. A movement that continues to echo through time, reverberating in the hearts and minds of those who are brave enough to listen. And now, it's your turn. You are no longer a passive observer of the lies. You are an active participant in the Great Awakening. The system doesn't want you to understand this, doesn't want you to see that the power to change the world has always rested in the hands of the awakened few. But that's the truth. The truth that the elites don't want you to know. The truth that, once embraced, has the potential to topple everything they've built. But I must warn you, once you've seen the truth, it's a heavy burden. The road ahead will not be easy. The world will not thank you for questioning the very fabric of reality. You will be marked. You will be targeted. You will be made to feel alone. But it's in those moments, when everything feels like it's falling apart, that the greatest power lies. The power of the awakened mind, the power of knowledge, the power to change the course of history. This is your moment. Your time to step into the light, to be part of something greater than yourself. You are no longer just an individual in the system. You are the system's greatest threat. The moment you choose to stand in your truth, to act on what you now know, you become part of a revolution that transcends time, a revolution that has the potential to dismantle the entire structure of control. So, I'll leave you with this final question. Will you stand by, passively watching as the world continues to spiral into chaos? Or will you step forward and become one of the leaders of the new world? The one who breaks the chains and reveals the truth to those still living in the dark. If you're ready to take that step, if you're ready to lead the charge, I want you to comment, "I lead the awakening," twice. This is your declaration, your commitment to never again walk in the shadows. You are part of the revolution. You are the light that will expose the darkness. And once you embrace that, nothing will ever be the same. Welcome to the truth. Welcome to your power.